Hello and welcome, Exiles. Today I want to talk about potential Leaguestart I think could be really cool, and that is Energy Blade cast on Crit Inquisitor. I want to just go over some highlights of what I think is cool about this, and then talk a bit about what I like, and we're going to get into some maps. So, first of all, Energy Blade, massive flat lightning damage. It's based off of taking half of your energy shield pool, and then giving you a bunch of flat lightning damage based on that. And then on top of that, you mix this in with an Inquisitor, with cast on Crit, and Battle Mage. Battle Mage says 100% of your damage from your main hand goes to your spell skills, and then you add in Spellblade support, and then you get another 125 to 145, whatever it gets to when you actually have it all the way leveled up. And that gives you a massive amount of flat damage for your skill. So even though I have a low level Eye of Winter level 18, it's actually dealing a massive amount of cold. You'll even look at the skill. If I were to look at the skill, you'll see it says 1k to 2k cold. That's not a lot of cold, but then you compare it to the lightning, which is 600 to 12k. It's clear our lightning damage is a much larger portion of the damage of this skill just because of Spellblade and Battle Mage, and that's how it works. Even though we don't have any specific percent lightning damage, we actually have all generic damage nodes. It really scales well with all that flat damage. Then you mix in the ability to ignore res. That means a lot of those res maps are going to be not a problem, and it works out pretty well. We're doing cast on crit because cast on crit is fun. We just get to spin to win, and it's a decent amount of fun. We're starting off with the early, basically, this is just, it's a little scuffed. It's Stampede setup. Ideally, you want to end up getting stuff like high uptime on Quicksilver, Onslaught, Tailwind, all that sort of stuff actually go super fast. But initially, early game, as far as just cycling around, you get consistent speed, and it works out pretty well. That's the idea behind the character. Let's go ahead and get into some maps, and I want to talk a bit about it. These are bricked, really, 8 mod maps, whatever they are. Gain life is ES, possess monster, gain is extra chaos, less accuracy. It's a pretty bad map. Probably going to get us killed. We'll see how it goes. We're at 93% XP, level 85. And this is the Shifting Stones League, so if we die, it's minus 50 every time we die. Right now I have Eye of Winter, and I should not have done that. I have so much regret right now, because that was really stupid of me to do that. Shifting Stones League means this Delirium effect never wears off, and I'm in a Phantasmagorium map, which is a very long map, and I think the... what's it called? The Delirious effect is going to get pretty difficult by the time I get to the boss. So that was really stupid of me to... At least we already got our level, so we locked that in. Anyways, as I was... Oh, we made a sale! I make the sale, dude. I need that for... Yeah, this is important. Okay, I'm broke right now, and this is early game currency in an economy that nothing's really moving. Anyways, as I was saying, for things I like about this character was pretty much early game. I equipped myself a Ghost Wraith and a Crown of Thorns. I chucked those on at level 30 or 40 or whatever it was in Act 4 when I was able to afford one. This was like a couple out item. This was about 1 to 2C, and I just played from that point onward. In Act 4, I had roughly around 2,000 energy shield. Use Energy Blade, it takes you down to 1k ES. But when you're self-casting with a weapon and an Energy Blade was around... You serve 30C? Sure. When you have a weapon around, it was like 220 to like 500 flat lightning. Self-cast with Spellblade and Battle Mage from Inquisitor. We were shredding everything, and it pretty much stayed that way, where we were self-cast annihilating whatever we were fighting in the campaign all the way through the campaign. This is the first character I've had on a Leaguestart test scenario where I was able to do the quest Sanctum all the way to killing Lycia on a character that was fresh out of the campaign. I did about 5 maps, and then I went to test out the Sanctum at level 70, and we actually completed the whole thing, which I thought was pretty good sign in terms of like your early game currency. If you just have some potato, few alks, or few chaos worth of gear, and then you go in, you do that early Sanctum, and all of a sudden you have 30C worth of currency to your name after 1 Sanctum, it's a pretty big spike in basically getting yourself early game items. The fact it could do that on that like questionable gear, I thought was really cool. The idea is pretty much start out as self-cast, do whatever spell you want. It really doesn't matter too much. This is just about what you enjoy playing. It's all pretty much generic elemental damage scaling based on the Energy Blade. So you could even take a Fizz spell like Blade Fall, which I actually think is quite a good skill. You could incorporate it in this build, and it should work pretty well. This character is really, I want to say, as far as cast on crit builds go, probably one of the only consistently decent ways to do it. I don't really think Cast on Crit can play out too well on a Leaguestart on other ascendancies. I think Inquisitor is one of the only ones that can do it because you get so much generic crit that applies to both attacks and spells, and it works out pretty well. But that's just my thought process on it. We're getting deeper in this delirious effect, so it's getting a little bit sketchy. We'll see how this boss goes. Anyways, as I was saying, you play self-cast until you get essentially a 5-link. The reason being is I really think you need the generic increased crit strike support in order to sustain decent crit chance, because your spell links or your links for cast on crit setup go as follows. You get Cyclone, which gives you your attack skill. You use cast on crit support, which gives you the ability to proc the skill with the cast on crit. And then you get oh, Hero's Truth, that's a good amulet. And then you get spellblade support, that's 3 links. And then you get the spell you're casting, that's your 4th link. And you don't have any rooms for increased crit strikes, and eventually you want a setup that doesn't need increased crit strikes. As you get into the end game of this character, you can get there, but right out the gate it's not gonna happen. At least I don't think it's gonna happen. I'm gonna die here. So we got a possessed, fully delirious boss. This is much harder than it should have been. I should not have added in the oh, what's it called? The I should not have clicked that delirium mirror, because this map has like gain is extra, fizz is chaos. It has a bunch of really like not good mods. I just did not think that through very well. But anyways, aside from the very foolish decisions to do this map, let's see if we can successfully do this without dying. I'm gonna sketch it out, to be honest. About to run out of our mana flasks. Now. Okay. Be just fine. I'm not worried at all. We don't have terrible mana problems, but it's not great, is what I would say. We're definitely missing a few procs every now and then when we don't have the mana flask on it. So it's not like a build where if you lose the mana flask you can't do damage, but we lose a little bit of our procs. Anyways, I'm getting a little bit sidetracked. Or side tangent. Anyways, we'll go ahead and do this T16. This is leading us up to a what's it called? Eater. As you can see, I just did the X-Arc. I have the quarterstaff right here. And we'll go ahead and swap on Firestorm just to showcase the versatility of this. You can use basically any skill you want with this build. It's very versatile. Whatever feels good or sounds like it'll be fun to you, you can slot it in and just play. And it just works. And it works pretty well. And anyways, as I was saying, cast on crit build, spin to win playstyle. You don't really think too much. Initially, we're doing basically items that are just scuffed uniques to fill placeholders. Like, for example, Ghostwraith. This is not our end game, but it's a really cheap chest that works early on. It gives you a lot of chaos res. It allows you to have some way of dealing with chaos damage, because if you get your chaos res capped, even though I don't have a coruscating elixir or a way to make chaos damage not bypass my ES, I have the mastery for 30% taken from ES before life, and then I have almost capped chaos res, and that between that and my vitality and a life flask, I don't think I've actually died to chaos damage, weirdly enough, yet in this run through of this character, I should say, which I think is, I don't know, it's a bit peculiar, and I just got completely shredded. I'm gonna do my best to pretend I didn't just die. This is a little embarrassing, but I definitely did just die due to not paying attention, and then you have a bunch of projectile monsters spawn and just absolutely rip you a new one. That's how it goes sometime. But anyways, cast on crit, you can slot in pretty much any skill you want, which I really like that idea of being able to just pick and choose what thematically fits or is just fun at the time of whenever you're deciding what build you're gonna play, and just rocking and rolling with it. As far as this character goes, the things I'm really excited about is its damage for the level of boss. I'm in danger. I'm in danger, but maybe I'm fine. Yeah, I'm actually just fine. Alright, sweet. Okay, anyways. The thing I like about this character is use basically whatever spell you want. It's got good damage. It's spin to win. I can just kind of right-click, hold, turn my brain off, and just go. It's super cruisy. And on top of that, on Leaguestart scenario, my main items just to get the build up and running and just working is self-cast and doing a lot of damage. Crown of Thorns and Ghostwraith, and I'm basically there. That on a 4-link, I was able to do my quest sanctum, which I think is pretty cool. And then once you get basically a 5 link and you get yourself a little bit better rares, you can swap into cast on crit and start just spinning to win and having a good time with it. So that is my sales pitch for this character. We'll go ahead and do a quest eater just to show you what it looks like at level 86 with some Leaguestart gear. The POB is going to be in the description for the basic setup I have right here, so you can get kind of a feel for the level of build I have. It's not super fancy. I think the most fancy thing I have on here, which quite frankly, I do not recommend in the long term, it's just like an early band-aid fix, which is I have 3 crit chance grand spectrums. This is a band-aid fix. I have a very weird economy in Shifting Stones where people were listing Astromentus for like 70 chaos and they were listing these grand spectrums for 5C each. I think in a real economy, I don't think that's how it's going to play out. I think these are going to be more expensive, and I think Astromentus is going to be closer to like 30C. But the way it works is you get yourself an Astromentus, you get yourself a bit more investment into other crit chance nodes besides like doing generic crit like this, and I think you can swap it around pretty fine. Astromentus, you're going to get another like 70% crit chance over what this is giving with only the 50% crit chance roll here. And then if you start respecing some of these nodes into other passive points, I think it works out okay. For example, if you have high voltage as just a reference point, that gives 100% crit chance if you were to like anoint it. It's not an expensive anoint. Astromentus, this anoint, and all of a sudden you have 170% crit chance more than what I have on my gear here, and that kind of offsets the difference in Grand Spectrum, if that makes sense. Grand Spectrums is basically just me filling the void of I couldn't afford Astromentus, these things were 5C, and they just worked. But initially on a Leaguestart, I think these will be more expensive, and you won't use these. I'm just trying to show some examples. I was too lazy to, for example, actually get anointing like high voltage. It's a cheap anoint. It's like 2 indigos and an orange. It's not expensive. But the idea is if I had on a Astromentus, well, I wouldn't need to anoint Dex twice, and that's what I'd be able to anoint high voltage. You get the point I'm making. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. Let's try to get in here and do this eater without dying. We'll see if we can manage it. We're using Firestorm. I think it's one of the highest damage cast on crit skills, but you can also do other skills like Blazing Salvo or like Eye of Winter or whatever feels nice to you. You don't have to do necessarily what I'm doing here in terms of Firestorm. There's a lot of skills that work. Quite frankly, so far in terms of feels good clear skills, I really like Arc. Arc feels really good to clear with. I also really enjoyed Shock Nova. I think it's just kind of up to whatever you enjoy or what you've tried out that you think would be fun, and just go with it. Because the damage itself is, I think, quite good for the investment, but you have to make that mind up for yourself. Let's see here. Let's see if we can finish this off before you go to another phase, or maybe we'll get a little... I don't see where that's coming down at. No! Got a ball camping him, so whenever you get inside that ball, you don't really attack very fast. And then we did it in one phase. Not too bad for an eater being able to finish him, the quest eater, in one ball phase or whatever that was. But anyways, that's Cast on Crit Inquisitor. I'm going to do some more testing. I'm probably going to set up an early endgame setup with an Ivory Tower, just to kind of showcase the reference of how well this build scales once you get a couple of uniques like Ivory Tower, like Wrathpith, like Brutal Restraint. You know, my favorite items of all time. But anyways, this is the early game of just a potato setup at level 86, doing your eater for the first time. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is me doing some Leaguestart testing. Probably going to test out some more builds, but right now, this one I think seems really good. We'll see when they give some announcements about things that are changing, buffs, nerfs, etc., where this build falls. Anyways, thanks for watching. As always, take care, Exiles, and peace out.